Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.
Speak slowly, so because my English is not so good.
Exactly. No, but I'll just jump in, man. I wanted to ask you, you've been really active lately, quite a lot of new records coming out, and especially with strings. And like this chamber orchestra, The Light Has No Darkness, which is beautiful, and with the string quartet. And what's the story behind these records? How come you went that way recently?
Well, I haven't. It was just a project that I had. I wanted to orchestrate my music and do it with a larger ensemble, And so that was originally my wife, who's from Donetsk. She's a Czech citizen now, but she's
Really? Wow.
from Donetsk. Set up a concert in Kiev for me with a 40-piece woodwind and brass orchestra, Ukrainian orchestra, and so I played a concert in my mother's hometown, which was Smila, in the Ukraine, and obviously before the war. And so that was attractive to me, although there were no strings. It was all brass and woodwind. So I wanted to hear something with strings. And a pianist that I was playing with was from Dallas, Texas. His name is Paul Lees, great young pianist and a graduate from the University of North Texas. He was in the 1 O'Clock Band, tremendous person and player. And he told me about a friend of his in Los Angeles who was an arranger and orchestrator who had graduated from UNT, University of North Texas. And so I called him up and we talked, and he was familiar with my music and excited to do something. Extraordinary orchestrator. He and I think 3 other people won an Academy Award for Oppenheimer, the film Oppenheimer,
Wow.
for orchestrations. So he's on his way to becoming quite well known now. And we're working on volume 2 of Things with Strings. Now, at the same time I'm doing that, I also have 3 different trios of mine that I'm playing. My Circle 3 trio with Joe Manis on tenor and soprano, Charlie Doggett on drums, and myself on bass. And then John Stoll and I, who you might remember, the guitarist John, we're starting to play again together. And so we have a duets and trios with Charlie Doggett, the drummer.
Fantastic.
And then yet another trio of mine now, very exciting trio and energy with a young pianist who is just as good as anyone out there on the scene. His name's Matt Sazama, amazing player, and Alan Jones on drums. Who Alan and I have had an ongoing relationship musically for a long time. So I've got those projects I'm busy with right now. So,
are you going to record all these new trios as well, or?
Well, yeah, we're going into the studio in February down in Scottsdale. There's a studio in Scottsdale, Arizona that is a state of the art. It's all the equipment is as good as you can get at this point. A friend of mine, a very good friend, who's been very supportive of my music, Bob Ravenscroft, purchased this building in Scottsdale. It's a circular building. He paid $6 million for it in cash and then did $29 million restoration.
Right. Well,
so this it's part of what his ministry, Christian ministry, is called Music Serving the Word. So all the offices are upstairs in the round. Down below, there is a concert hall, concert halls. That holds 250 people, has a Meyer sound system, leather seats. I mean, everything is pristine. In the same building is a state-of-the-art recording studio. Each place has a 9-foot Ravenscroft grand piano. Ravenscroft is a handmade piano, like a Fazioli, maybe a step or two above a Fazioli. Oh. It's an amazing piano. It's like a $300,000 instrument. And then in the same building is a jazz club with another Ravenscroft. So this is an amazing situation down there in Scottsdale, Arizona. So I'm going down to record with my trio, and then also recording John Stoll with my trio with Joe Manis and Charlie Dog. We'll add John on a couple of tunes. Beautiful. Later in the year, it's my hope to take Matt, the pianist, and Alan Jones and myself and go down and also record. Look, I'm trying to get as much done as possible. I'm 83 almost, and so I don't know how much time I have left. I feel good. I'm in good shape. I'm just going to try to get as much done as possible.
Beautiful. You seem to be bursting with energy. So when I hear you talk now, and which is beautiful, you know, it's nice that you have the creative spirit going on. I mean, that's important.
Thank you.
That's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
Amazing. David, I wanted to go back a little bit. You know, I checked. I have you on so many records from, you know, the 70 records you did as a band leader, and then, you know, with Mal Waldron and Ted Curson and all that stuff. And I wanted to ask you, how did you enter that world of playing with those guys like Ricky Ford and Ted Curson and Jackie Byard, and or even if we go even further back, I've read you played with Joe Henderson also, that he invited you on a tour. Like, how did that entering the jazz world begin for you?
That's what it is. It's entering that level of playing with these great musicians. I think it first started when I was doing the Jamie Aebersold jazz camps in the very, very early years. Before Jamie took it over, it was a big band camp. And then the person that was running it quit, and Jamie took it over and wanted to make it a combo camp. So all the other jazz camps you see today are all patterned after Jamie's. And I remember trying to think of who came first. I think it was Joe. Actually, John Hurd, great bass player, was up here in Portland playing with someone. And then we met at a person's house and we played some duets together. And he was, you know, John Hurd's an amazing bass player. And Joe Henderson called him for a gig, and John couldn't do it, and he recommended me.
Ah, okay.
And so Joe Henderson called me up. Now, at the time, I knew a lot of Wayne Shorter's music. I wasn't listening to Joe that much, but when he asked me, he said, "Well, do you know my music?" I said, "Yes, of course." Which is a lie a little bit. I did know his music. I just hadn't learned any of his music.
Sure.
But as it turned out, I think Ndugu was on drums. Leon Chancellor was on drums. Amazing drummer.
Yeah, of course. Beautiful.
And that was my first association with someone great was with Joe. And then we went on tour together. And at one of the camps, when I was with Joe, I met David Baker, who was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize for organizing jazz as a study. And I met David Baker and a great guitarist, not Bonner. Oh man, great guitarist, great friend of David's, and we did a trio gig. And the guitarist was very good friends with Billy Harper, and Billy was going to Europe and looking for a bassist, and this guitarist who had played with David Baker recommended me. So when Billy Harper called me up, I was in Portland. The first thing Billy said is, he says, "I can't believe I'm calling Portland, Oregon for a bass player." But he sent me a ticket. I flew back to New York. We rehearsed. It was Malcolm Pinson on drums, Joe Bonner on piano, the trumpet player. We made an album called Black Saint on the Black Saint label. But that was my first association was with Billy Harper and or Joe Henderson, then Billy Harper. And then when I was back in New York, I had met Ted Curson much earlier in Denmark when I was living in Denmark. My first wife, Kim, was Danish, and we were married in Copenhagen. And I met Ted Curson at the Jazz Club Montmartre.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
So when I went back to the old Montmartre, the original one, and so when I went back to New York to play with Billy, let's see, how did that happen? No, didn't happen then. It happened a few years later when I came back to Portland. I went back to New York. I stayed with Lou Marini.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Lou. And in fact, one day when I was at Lou's, the phone rang, and on the other line was the person who, he says, "Listen, I have a new gig for us. It's a new TV show that's going to be called Saturday Night Live." that hadn't happened yet. But I was at Lou's, and my very first day in New York, I got a gig with Larry Willis. I forget all the people now, but it was a great jazz gig. And so, you know, things spread. And when I was with and then I re-met Ted Curson. I called Ted up and told him I'm in New York right now. And Ted was organizing a band and got me in the band with, it was David Lamb and on piano, and myself and Nick Brignola on baritone and Ted on trumpet. Chris Woods was on alto, yeah. And we played at the Tin Palace, opened up at the Tin Palace. And then I remember that in the front row was Charlie Hayden, Cecil McBee, and Charles Mingus, because I was the new kid in town. And so they all came out to check me out, you know. So I had to make a decision. I said to myself, well, it's either about them or about the music. And I'm not here to meet them. I'm here to play the music. I had to make a decision. It was a rough one with all those guys looking down my neck. But, you know, it's that gig. And then Al Foster heard me play at the Village Gate, and he recommended me to Stan Getz.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So then I worked with Stan for a bit. I didn't know enough to do all these gigs, but I think the way I played bass was unique enough. I had my own sound without trying to have my own sound. I just had my own sound. I never tried to have an original sound. I just played music, and it was original.
I find it amazing that already those 70 records with you, it's you. It's really like you immediately had your own sound, which is, that's in the jazz world with so many bass players, being recognizable, it's quite hard. But
Miroslav Vidas and I had dinner one night together in Europe, and he was saying that people couldn't develop their own sound. It was a gift or not. And I said, no, I disagreed with him. I said, no, I think a person can learn to have their own sound. It's just a matter of discovery and other things in their life.
Yeah.
Because technically, if you think about it, inside this flesh is a spirit. And there's not another me in the whole world. There's only one of me. There's only one of you. There's only one of Joe Henderson, only one Chick Corea.
Yep.
And there's a lot of emulators, but only one real. But that's a fact. So the whole idea is how do I get what's in here out? How do I get that out, honestly? And I came up with two ways. My philosophy about learning music in the practice room is you learn chord scale relationships, you learn the theory, you learn the technique, and all of this should give you the confidence to take our eyes off ourselves so we can listen and respond creatively to what we hear.
Yep.
That's one way. The other way is through composition, learning to compose music to please you. So whenever I compose music, and I have, like probably 700 or more compositions on records, I always compose to please me first. Yeah. And then if people like it, that's great. And if they don't, well, you can't buy a steak in a Chinese restaurant and vice versa, So if you want to hear the music of David Friesen, then, and even playing with other people, I can't play like Ray Brown. I love Ray Brown, great bassist, but I wouldn't want to play like him.
Sure.
I'm not him. So it's something I accepted a long time ago. Also, is your first name Samo, right?
Yeah.
There's a new jazz club here in Portland called Conway's House of Jazz. And I've been playing a lot of piano.
Yeah, lately. I saw that. Yeah. I heard that record. It's amazing, man.
Oh, thank you. And so I play solo piano for dinner people at the jazz club. Before the main act comes, I just play solo piano. I like doing it, and it helps me get my chops up. But the review on that record, one of the reviewers said he liked the record, and he says one of the reasons he liked it, he says, because Friesen isn't showing his technique and everything. We're just hearing music.
Yep.
And I laughed at that because I ain't got no technique. I let the power of not having enough technique work an advantage for me. Some people, they get so caught up with the theory.
Yeah.
And to explain why they're doing what they're doing. And they forget it's about music, My sister's an actress and director in Hollywood. And the LA Lakers, the basketball team, they give her tickets for the games, her and Jack Nicholson. and so I was at a LA Lakers game. Sometimes when I would drive from Phoenix back home to Portland, I'd go to LA and spend a couple of days with my sister. On this one particular day, she had tickets for the Laker game, an extra one for me. These tickets are crazy, man. They
Sure.
cost now for one game $3,000.
That's insane, yeah.
For one game.
That's...
To sit on these special seats, you know. So I was there, and after I was watching the game, Lakers weren't doing so good, and the coach came over. I was sitting next to Magic Johnson. He sat next to my sister, so I met Magic. We were talking. I'm a boxing fan, so we were talking about boxing. The coach comes over and says, Michael, would you come down? Magic, would you come down? Magic, would you come down and talk to the players? It was halftime, intermission. So he did, and when he came back, Diane, my sister, asked him, what did you say to them? And Magic says, I just told them, hey, guys, you're forgetting to have fun playing basketball.
Yep.
It's the same with the music. We forget to enjoy the process, the excitement of playing, and we get caught up with the technique and the theory, and you know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
That's why I use that explanation.
Yeah, now it's important to enjoy. I many times find myself, you know, in the process of writing and producing, and then making an album and getting reviews, and then you get caught up in all this other bullshit, which is the main idea why we do is to play, right?
Right.
But yeah, you easily forget that with all the surrounding factors. I think it can be heavy sometimes. Yeah. When did you start composing? Actually, you mentioned, you know, you have so many tunes, and
I started composing when I was 6 years old on the piano. I was writing little tunes then. I remember. So I think it's just something that's always been a part of me. I hear the melodies and I put them down, and I keep writing.
Yeah.
I just, even now, and one of the inspirations usually are from the groups I'm playing with. I write for the groups, you know.
Important.
What will work with one group may not work with another. I remember Joe Henderson told me he went down to South America the first time. He was invited down to play, so he took a lot of his compositions. And he says not one of the compositions worked with the musicians there. He had to rewrite and make new tunes to fit the people he was playing with,
sure.
The musicians he was playing with. So, yeah, one of my songs might work for this group and not for that group. So,
yeah.
But
how was Joe as a band leader to you, or to the whole group?
how was Joe?
Yeah, Henderson.
He was great, not demanding, you know, not demanding. Everyone has their own way of doing it, and you can either respect it and stay with it or not do it. Everyone has a right to do it the way they want.
Yeah.
Me, personally, I don't want to tell great musicians how to play my music. I want them to play what they hear in the moment, because I don't want any restrictions, and it gives them the freedom to relax, knowing they don't have to make this note at this point. Just my only thing I tell everyone is listen and respond creatively to what you hear.
Yeah.
Listen. And so many musicians don't know how to listen, you know.
True.
It's amazing. I mean, some really great players, and they don't listen. You know, they're caught up with repetition. And
that's the safe zone.
I have an alarm that goes off inside of me when I'm doing that, you know, because I don't want to be caught up in that, you know. But I'm not perfect, you know. No one's perfect. And I definitely don't know it all. I know very little. this is an interesting thing. The sun up in the sky on a clear day in Portland, Oregon, it looks like you could take that sun and place it inside Portland, Oregon without any problem. The problem is, the closer you get to the sun, the larger it becomes and the smaller you become.
Yeah.
And it's exactly that way with music. The closer you get to the source of music, the more you see how little you really know.
Yep.
And that's the truth.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We learn all the time. I mean,
We learn all the time.
which is beautiful. Yeah. It's like an endless. Would be hard for us to play improvisation and jazz if it was like, if there existed an end, you know, level 12, and once you achieve that, that's it. I think everyone would get bored.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too challenging for that.
Yeah, yeah, which is beautiful. Yeah.
I told one time I walked into a class at some university and I says, beware, I knew more 10 years ago than I know now. And so someone from the back of the class said, then why didn't you come 10 years ago?
Good argument.
But that's the truth. You know, we know in part.
Yeah.
And it's an art form. You know, I'm so sorry that the industry has changed in a way. Now I find that so many people don't have CD players.
Yeah.
They like to go online and take what they want. You know, a CD is a piece of artwork. You have the cover. I paint all my covers.
Oh, really?
You have
Oh, beautiful.
cover, you have the liner notes. You have the music, which is a part of it. It's a piece of artwork. And the sequencing of the music, that's well thought out. I mean, I spend time trying different sequences, and you've got to come up with something that works. Daniel Humer. Do you know who Daniel
Oh, sure.
Humer is?
Amazing drummer, yeah.
Yes. Well, Daniel is a friend of mine, and he's into gastronomics like myself, or I was, food specialist. Yeah. And he took me to a 3-star Michelin on the Balzac, off the Champs-Élysées at the Balzac Hotel. And this chef is considered like the Coltrane of chefs. There's this English chef, Gordon Ramsay.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
This was Gordon Ramsay's teacher. And I met him. He came out and talked with Daniel and with myself. Daniel's wife was coming back from New York from attending Chan's funeral. Chan was Charlie Parker's wife. And Daniel's wife, Lucille, was very good friends with Chan. Mm. So we were waiting at the restaurant for her to arrive. And the chef came out, Gunnar, and talked to each one of us. And then he constructed a 5-course meal based on our personalities. So no one had the same plate. No one was eating the same thing. Amazing. Everything was specific for each individual person. Then for dessert, he had a plate and he had like 12 little cakes going around the plate. But the cakes had to be eaten counterclockwise because of the taste and the smell. And I was thinking, you know, it's like that when we sequence music.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I want this tune here because this one's going to follow in another key, or this one here has a different tempo, and I want there to be some diversity, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that experience with the small cakes reminded me of that. You know, it's part of art.
Yeah, album is like a novel. I mean, it needs a storyline and you need time to listen to music. I mean, that's what people lack nowadays, I think, to put on an album, read the liner notes,
Yeah.
listen once or twice or three times to an album because we spend so much time in all of that, like you said, not only composing and recording but it's a whole project. And yeah, it's the younger generations lack that. I think when I talk to my students, man, it's like I tell them I spent all my money, my lunch money, to buy one CD in the early 90s.
Oh,
And then I
yeah.
listened to that CD for 2 weeks, 3 weeks until the next lunch money came. So, and yeah, the romance is gone in a way. So
Are you in New York?
I'm in Slovenia now, in Maribor.
Oh, you're in Marlborough, in
Yeah, yeah,
Slovenia.
yeah.
Oh,
But I
wow.
used to be in New York, yeah, for some
So
time.
you're living there then, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Wow. I should have you help me. If you know a presenter, come there and play a concert for you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Drop me a line when you're gonna be in Europe by email if you'll have a period or if you have some gigs. We're like 2 hours south of Vienna. Kind of, did you get the idea? So it's quite a good location, Maribor. It's like 2 hours south of Vienna, 1 hour north of Zagreb, 3 hours from Budapest. So kind of like that region. And
Well, it might be too close now, but I'm in Europe, uh, in Berlin on February 28th and March 1st.
yeah, that's a little bit too late. Yeah.
March, it's too late, but I plan on bringing this great pianist and drummer with me to Europe in 2026
Oh yeah,
in March.
then let me know. I can hook you up with some people, and maybe you can try to get a gig, or I can talk to them as well. I know many guys, so it'll be
I
good.
should get your phone number.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, David, via email, and
You,
yeah, yeah, I have your email, and I'll send you, and then we can stay in touch, and hopefully get you back here after 30 years. So
yeah, it would be nice to come back. This this is a pretty exciting group.
yeah,
I mean, the energy involved is just, even on ballads, this piano player is just crazy good.
I have to check him out. I don't know. Check
Well,
him.
I don't think he's new. I don't think he's on any records at all.
Ah, shit. Okay,
Brand new
fantastic.
and extraordinary. And
Yeah.
he plays drums and bass just as well.
Mm. Yeah, it's one of those geniuses, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say one of those geniuses,
Yeah,
right?
I struggled with my guitar for a long time, and some people are just, yeah, shit, man, okay, well, here, amazing. But yeah,
Now
beautiful.
you're
Yeah,
you're in the free music scene, right?
I mean, I do like lots of composed stuff and impro and everything. I've played with so many guys that you played with. I toured a lot with Paul McCandless and Bob Moses and all these guys, and so it's kind of, yeah, I like this mix of composed music and impro. Just playing something written out and going into a free section just to see where the music takes us, and then
Yeah,
back in the composed stuff, and you know listening, like you said. That's so nice.
yeah, that's an exciting concept.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. David, I wanted to ask you something already before when we were talking about band leading, uh, and I mentioned Paul now. That's why I remembered McCandless. How did those records in the '70s, Stardance and Waterfall Rainbow, happen? Because there's like those are monstrous records with amazing players. Ralph Downer, John Stoll, Steve Gadd on one. Which you have to tell me how Steve came into the equation. And,
Well, we were in New York, and I was playing at the Bottom Line, and well, before that, actually, I was working with Ted Curson. We were playing a concert in Philadelphia, and the guys were going out for lunch or for dinner, and I said, "No, I'm going to stay back. I'm going to practice." So I had my acoustic bass, and I went over on the stage into a corner so I could hear myself and was playing. And I didn't know that the owner of the record company was sitting in the back row.
of Inner City.
And yeah, in
Oh,
the
okay.
city. And I tell my students, whenever you pick up your instrument to play it as though it's the last time you're ever going to play it, because one day it will be. And so I was, playing, and after I finished, this person in the back of the hall, he said, it turned out to be Irv Kratka. He said, "What was that?" And then I saw him. I said, "Oh, that's my music." He says, "I love it." He says, "I want you to make a record for my inner city." Well, talk is cheap, especially in New York. Everyone says some stuff. I says, "Great, love it." That's the last I dealt with it. I just didn't give it much interest. He called me 2 or 3 times more, and then I finally realized, yeah, this is really going to happen. So I knew Paul McCandless and Ralph and Glenn because they were organs from Oregon.
Yeah.
And I knew these guys, and I loved Paul's playing on oboe and English horn.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was going to use him, and I was working at the bottom line with Mose Ellison.
Okay.
And I was playing opposite a group that Steve Gadd was playing in. And I was driving from Portland, Oregon to Seattle one day, and on the radio was a tune with Hubert Laws and Steve Gadd playing Erigen. And I heard this drummer, and I said, "Man, I want to use this guy on my record." So in New York, we were working opposite each other, and I asked Steve at that time if he would do it, and he was up for it. He wanted to do it. So that's how that happened. The Waterfall Rainbow record was with Bobby Moses.
Yeah.
And Bobby, Bobby, he's just crazy and open to
we
anything.
played. Yeah. Greetings to Bob, by the way.
And we had a good relationship, and so I got him on drum. But just knowing people, even Gary Burton called me up.
Oh, wow.
And we were going to do a project together. Even Chet Baker and I worked at a festival opposite each other, and we had talked about doing a duet album together,
Would have been
which
nice.
obviously didn't happen because of him falling out the window. When I met him, he was fine. He was doing good. So the horrible thing with drugs, how it destroys people and music,
Yeah. Did you ever consider staying on the East Coast actually, or?
No, I was married and had kids, and my record company wanted me to move back there, but it was just too much. It's interesting. A lot of New Yorkers have moved to Portland, so there's a lot of really George Colligan.
George is in Portland, exactly. Oh yeah,
he lives in Portland.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
And other players too. I can't think of names right now, but there's a whole bunch of people from LA that's moved up here. There'll be more people from LA moving up here now because of those fires.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. It's terrible.
Everyone's lost everything.
Insane. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like a world war has happened. Every home burned down. There's nothing standing.
Yeah, I saw pictures. I mean, as much as we can see here, in Europe.
Those homes,
Yeah.
everything gone, totally gone.
It's bizarre that they cannot stop it, no? I mean, that it's so huge and immense.
Right now is the 4th day. It's only 17% contained.
Yeah, that's
because of the winds.
Yeah, of course, the coast and yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was just down in LA a few weeks ago to see my sister. Natasha was down there and spent some time, and we were going to go back down in January, but no, not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
anyways,
nature.
That's how those people happened. It's just you know people, and one person says this or that, and you go to a jam session, and so Soho, there was a lot of loft sessions that we
Oh
went
yeah,
to, and
yeah. No, Mel was also the same part of the clique, Mel Waldron. I mean, what's your story with him? Because
um, it happened at the Keystone Corner in San Francisco.
okay.
Todd Barkin um, liked me a lot and liked my music because he'd bring me down there often to San Francisco to play. And on this one New Year's Eve gig, he wanted me to play with Mal Waldron, duets.
Ooh,
And, and Mal and I had an instant rapport, you know. And later we did a record called well, we did a few records together, but the one I'm thinking of was called
with Billy Higgins, that one entrance.
yeah, that's with Mal. That's right. But the one I'm thinking of is a record called Remembering Mal, or yeah, Remembering the Moment.
Oh yeah,
And
with Julian Priester and Jim Pepper, and I love those guys, man. Jim Pepper. Ooh.
I introduced Jim and Mal and they became really good friends and did a lot of duet concerts too
Really?
together.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So that there was that one. But I met Mal at that New Year's Eve. We were playing opposite Kenny Burrell.
Mm.
And and then Mal and I had a good rapport, and we decided to set up a European concert. And from that time on, we did several European concerts together.
Mm. Beautiful, man. Yeah. Yeah, I love that record with Billy Higgins and Joe. The one entrance and many exits.
Many exits. That was my title. Mal couldn't think of a title, so I looked at the club at the recording studio, and we came into the studio, and in the studio there were like 3 exits to get out. I said, well, why not one entrance, many exits? Mal liked it, and he said, okay.
It's a nice title, yeah.
It's a nice album with Joe Henderson.
Oh man, and
Higgins.
Billy. I mean, just to hear you with Billy also. I mean, come on. That's like,
You know, Samo, this was my school, playing with all these great players. When I was in Seattle in the 60s, playing opposite Coltrane, Wes Montgomery, and sitting and talking with these guys and asking questions and getting answers, you know. Have you ever heard of a great bass player named Albert Stinson?
yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
He was like a Scott LaFaro, and the strings were like this high. And he just was as fluid as can be. And Albert and I spent a lot of time together. And also Pete LaRocca and I spent a lot of
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was amazing, yeah.
Amazing, yeah. That was in Seattle. That's why I was playing opposite all these great players in Seattle. So when I went back to New York, they remembered me. A lot of the people remembered me.
Mm. Yeah, that's the best way to learn, right? To play with all the guys you played with, from Danny Richmond. I mean, speaking as a bass player, and
I loved playing with Danny. He was a very gentle soul. Yeah.
Yeah.
A funny thing, I was in Istanbul, in Turkey, and Uwe Krupinski and I had just finished playing a concert. And I was walking back to the hotel with my bass on my shoulder. And I heard, and this was elbow to elbow. I mean, in Istanbul on a weekend, it was like crazy. I mean, you can hardly walk. And in the midst, I hear Friesen. I said, what? Someone yelling Friesen. And I looked around, and I just all these Turkish people. And so I just continued walking. And I heard Friesen. And I looked, and there over sitting in a cafe in a chair was Ricky Ford.
Really? Oh man, that's a coincidence.
Went over. I mean, you know, it's crazy. Same thing in Japan. When I was in Japan, I was standing outside a record store in the Roppongi area of Tokyo, and A Japanese man walks up to me and says, "Hello, Friesen's son. Does your mother still play saxophone?" I said, "I don't know. Did she?" That was crazy. I mean, I don't know anyone in Japan except for the people that picked me up at the airport, and I was playing with Hozan Yamamoto and Satehiko Masa, piano player, and a couple of other people I made records with. But I'd never been to Japan before. And this guy walks up to me and says my name and asks about my mother playing sax. I said, "I don't know. Did she play saxophone?" I didn't do more than I knew.
Bizarre. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Ricky Ford also listened to the other day to this record you did with Jackie Byard and Danny. What's the name of that record? Manhattan Plaza.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice one also. Speaking of Ricky.
You have a good memory. I mean, wow, you know all these players and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many CDs, like I'm still, when we talked about CDs, I just love CDs still, and then I put on, and I love to cook, like I cook every day at home for my family, and then I put on a CD, I just listen to music, and then it's like, man, okay, what is this? It's a nice thing to listen to music. Yeah, it's a nice thing. Beautiful, man. Cool. Well, David, I think we covered so much, was nice hearing you talk.
What do you do with this? Is this live or is it recorded?
Yeah, I mean, I leave it like this. I leave it as a whole. Basically, I'll just start cut in the beginning when we did the technical chisel, and in the end, I leave it like a free improv gig because it had a nice flow and everything, and it's a video interview, and I make a sketch of you, and that's it. And
can you send a link to my wife or to me so I can pass it on to my wife? She does all my social media.
Yeah, definitely. When this comes out, I think it'll come out in March. So I'll send you a link and everything, and we can share it and all. And
would you? That'd be great.
Absolutely. And also let me know, like I said, when you're going to be in Europe, 26. Let me know the period approximately, and I'll send you my phone, and just give me a call, or let's set it.
Well, in March, February 28th, it's a short tour. It's February 28th. Well, I'll be in Europe all of March. I'll be in the Czech Republic. My wife still hasn't got her green card. I've been waiting. We've been waiting for 2 years now. The short story is I lost my wife to COVID.
Oh,
my first.
Oh, sorry.
After 58 years of marriage.
Oh, man.
And my friend Natasha kind of picked me up because that was that's a horrible thing.
Man, yeah, I cannot even. Yeah.
The left-hand turn in life without, good health, and so it wasn't expected. But Natasha has been wonderful, and she takes care of all my social media and stuff and helps me. So,
yeah.
If you send me the link, she'll make sure.
I will definitely. I mean, we're from Prague. We're 5 hours away. If you're going to be around, just we have a guest room here as well. You can stay here, and if you like wine, I can show you around. We can eat some nice food or even play or whatever. Let me know. We can maybe hook up.
We're close to Prague. Our apartment is in Podobrady, which is just about 30 minutes east of Prague.
Okay. Yeah.
Real close.
Yeah.
Well, good. You know how to get in touch with me, and if you have some time, drop me a line or call me.
I will. I'll send you my phone now, and if you're going to be around, let me know. Maybe we can hook up, or I can help you in 2026 to send you some links with some promoters, and you can contact them.
How many artists do you interview?
So far it's like more than 500 already.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's become an obsession the last 4 years already. It's like I don't know. I like to think of creating this sort of an archive for people who like the music. I would love to listen to interviews, let's say, of Ted Curson and Jackie Byard and all these guys, but there are no interviews with these guys, right? And so it's kind of like an archive for hopefully future fans of or
Yeah.
anyone who's interested. I mean, just
Unfortunately, we've lost Bayard, we've lost Ted,
Yeah.
Nick Brignola's gone,
many guys.
Chris Woods, so many great players.
Yeah. So but that's that's life, I guess. That's life. That's why we have to keep on going strong while we're here. So.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
You too.
And,
Thanks so much, David. Thanks so much. It was nice meeting you, and hopefully meet you in person as well. So. Cool.
Look forward to seeing you, hopefully in Europe.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Cool, sir. Stay strong.
Yeah.